Miniature artist Annie Graham lives a quiet life in northern Utah with her husband Steve, a psychiatrist, their teenage son Peter, and their eccentric 13-year-old daughter Charlie. Charlie is a strange and withdrawn girl who spends most of her time building unsettling toys and clicking her tongue. Annie's relationship with her children is complicated, especially because Charlie was extremely close to Annie's mother, Ellen. The story begins with Ellen's funeral. Annie feels conflicted over her mother's death because their relationship was deeply troubled. Ellen was secretive, manipulative, and emotionally distant. Despite this, many mysterious mourners attend the funeral, suggesting Ellen had connections Annie knew nothing about. Struggling with grief, Annie attends a support group where she opens up about her painful family history. She reveals that mental illness has haunted her bloodline. Her father died after suffering from psychotic depression, her brother committed suicide, and her mother had dissociative identity disorder. Annie fears these problems may be passed on to her own children. Soon after the funeral, Peter is invited to a high school party. Annie insists that he take Charlie with him so she can socialize. Charlie reluctantly goes, carrying her sketchbook and wandering around awkwardly. At the party, Charlie discovers a chocolate cake loaded with chopped walnuts. She has a severe nut allergy and quickly begins to choke. Panicked, Peter rushes her to the hospital in his car. As Charlie struggles to breathe, she sticks her head out the window for air. Peter suddenly swerves to avoid a dead deer in the road. In a horrifying instant, Charlie's head strikes a telephone pole, killing her instantly. Peter is too traumatized to react. He drives home in complete shock and leaves Charlie's body in the car. The next morning, Annie discovers her daughter's decapitated corpse. Her screams of grief are devastating. Charlie's death destroys the family. Peter is consumed by guilt and isolates himself. Annie becomes emotionally unstable, swinging between sorrow and rage. Steve tries to hold the family together, but the tension in the house becomes unbearable. At another support meeting, Annie meets a woman named Joan. Joan appears warm and sympathetic, claiming she also lost her son and grandson. She befriends Annie and later tells her she has discovered a way to communicate with the dead. Joan demonstrates a séance in her apartment, seemingly allowing Annie to speak with Charlie's spirit. Annie is stunned and desperate to reconnect with her daughter. That night, Annie performs the séance at home with Peter and Steve. At first, nothing happens. Then glasses move, candles flicker, and Annie begins speaking in Charlie's voice. Peter is terrified, and Steve remains skeptical, believing Annie is having a breakdown. After the séance, increasingly disturbing events occur in the house. Peter sees Charlie's ghostly figure. Annie notices strange symbols and frightening images in Charlie's sketchbook. The atmosphere becomes more sinister by the day. Searching through her mother's belongings, Annie discovers a photo album and occult books. She learns Ellen was part of a secret cult that worshipped a demon king named Paimon. According to the texts, Paimon grants riches and power but prefers to inhabit the body of a male host. Annie also finds photographs showing Joan standing beside Ellen, revealing that their meeting was no coincidence. In the attic, Annie makes a horrifying discovery: Ellen's decomposing, headless body hidden among occult symbols painted in blood. Annie realizes her mother planned something terrifying long before her death. Meanwhile, Peter begins suffering from increasingly violent supernatural attacks. At school, an unseen force twists his body and slams his face into his desk, breaking his nose. Annie finally understands that Charlie was never simply Charlie. Her mother had used the child as a vessel for Paimon, but because Paimon prefers a male host, the spirit now seeks Peter. Annie believes Charlie's sketchbook is the connection to the evil presence. She remembers that when she threw the book into the fire, her own arm ignited. Convinced their lives are linked to it, she begs Steve to burn the sketchbook. Steve refuses, certain Annie has lost her mind. In desperation, Annie tosses the sketchbook into the fireplace herself. But instead of Annie burning, Steve bursts into flames and dies in front of Peter. Annie stares in shock. Then her face goes blank as she becomes fully possessed by the same force haunting the house. Peter wakes later and discovers his father's charred body. Naked cult members stand silently throughout the home, watching him. A possessed Annie crawls across the ceiling and chases Peter through the house. He runs to the attic, where he witnesses Annie levitating and using piano wire to saw off her own head. Terrified beyond reason, Peter leaps from the attic window. He falls to the ground unconscious. A glowing light enters Peter's body, reviving him. Now possessed, Peter rises and walks in a trance toward Charlie's treehouse. Inside, Joan and the cult members are gathered in worship. The headless corpses of Annie and Ellen are arranged before a shrine. Charlie's severed head is placed atop a crown mannequin. Joan gently places the crown on Peter's head. She addresses him as Paimon, explaining that the cult has finally corrected the earlier mistake of placing the spirit in Charlie's female body. After years of planning, they have successfully transferred Paimon into his desired male host. The cult kneels before Peter and hails him as King Paimon. The Graham family's suffering was never random. They were pawns in a carefully orchestrated ritual designed to bring a powerful evil into the world.